What's up, guys? KAMIKAZE-FOX coming to you from IRL on this Sunday morning. IRL Season 5, Round 12 at the Sochi Alder in Russia. And we're going to have lots to talk about coming off of Round 11 last week. It was a very exciting race. Definitely be lots to discuss moving forward. Some really interesting things happened last race. So we're going to get into that, give you a driver rundown here in a minute as we wait for the game to load in. We're going to do an 18-minute qualifying session and then a 50% race here for round 12. And just to give you a quick driver rundown, we're going to have on tap today, we've got Adrian Storm, Ville Himalayan, Ken Vilhoon, Darren Sinclair, Sondre Sorhaug, Aaron Collingwood, Joshua Dangle, Gabriel Ryan, Jorge Correa, Felix Negwer, Tyler Rhodes, Sapa Siktu is back, Jay Drawbridge, Jack Hoyle, Brandon Glover, Samuel Nasser, and Alexander Bastos going to be rounding out the 17 drivers that are participating in today's race. We got Adrian Storm chiming in on the live chat. Certainly wish him well today. You see some of the cars already leaving the pits. Looks like a couple of guys did a quick basic setup. They're going to head out onto track and start their out laps. Now, if you weren't here for last week's race at China, it was very interesting. A lot of action on the opening few laps, and we had a safety car in the middle of it. Jay Drawbridge wound up picking up his fourth pole position of the year. Aaron Collingwood took home the win in a very controversial manner. Collingwood actually made contact with Drawbridge, while Drawbridge, and Jack Hoyle were actually battling for the lead. Collingwood made contact with him. Drawbridge, unfortunately, went off track, hit the Armco, and his day was done. Drawbridge finished 16th. Collingwood went on to win the race. However, Drawbridge did something that was actually a little bit intelligent and did not report the incident for investigation after the race. Now, the reason why he did that is because Jack Hoyle actually finished second that race. So Drawbridge knew if he reported Collingwood for the incident, Collingwood would get a penalty, ultimately would probably hand the win over to Jack Hoyle, and he didn't want to do that because Drawbridge is trying to close that points gap to Hoyle, and kind of an intelligent move to keep him from getting any more extra points over him than he's got. That being said, Hoyle is your points leader. He picked up his 8th podium of the year, 8 in 11 rounds. He is points leader by a large margin. Gabriel Ryan came home third, picking up his 2nd podium of the year. And then your finishing order was Tyler Rhodes, Samuel Nasser on his debut, finishing 5th on his F1 debut for IRL. Adrian Storm, or Sondre Sorhaug, came home 6th. That was actually Sondre's best finish since round 5 back in France, where he finished 5th. Adrian Storm got 7th. Felix Negwer, who is 2nd in points, struggled a little bit, and his pit strategy was kind of ruined with the whole safety car. Comes home 8th. Brandon Glover was 9th. Thomas Scott came home 10th. Jared Fosbury, who was leading the race at the safety car, and for the love of myself, I can't understand his pit strategy during the last race. And I'm also going to clarify something if you watch last race here in a second. But Jared Fosbury was leading at the safety car mark. He was on mediums. He didn't make a pit stop. So once it went green, it was about halfway through the race. He hadn't pitted all day. He didn't pit off of mediums until after falling all the way to the back of the grid almost, outside of the points. And only with a couple laps left did he pit for ultra softs. And he garnered him nothing. He finished in 11th, no points, after leading the race for a little while. Now, I thought, and this was a mistake on my part, I thought towards the end of the race that he was trying to get fastest lap for bonus points. I was corrected during that race and after with clarification that there are no bonus points in IRL for the fastest lap. That is something that is done in SRL, which is the other league that I commentate for. SRL does hand out bonus points for fastest laps, so I got the leagues mixed up. It happens a lot, unfortunately. That being said, Jared Fosbury, I don't understand what his race strategy was. He could have pitted on lap 20 to pick up ultra softs and work his way back through the points a little bit, but he comes home in 11th as we see some guys starting to set times. Aaron Collingwood to the top of the charts with a 1:31.36. Brandon Glover with a 1:30 586, and Adrian Storm 133. We're currently watching Vs Himalayan, who did not participate in last round. And to finish out last week's race in China, you had Can Valhoon, Jorge Correa, Alexander Bastos, Darren Sinclair, Jay Drawbridge all picking up DNFs. Darren Sinclair is new to the league. He made his F1 debut last week. Unfortunately, he crashed out. And Alexander Bastos, I was giving him praise, but he comes home 14th as he crashed going into the pits. That was actually his second DNF of the year and his second one in a row. And we see very quickly Jay Drawbridge has already gone to the top of the charts with a 130.088. He leads the league this year in pole positions. He has 4. He's actually got 2 in a row as we speak. And Jay Drawbridge, he picked up his 3rd DNF of the year last time out. We're going to pick up Felix Negwer. And Felix Negwer is second in the point standings. Lost a little bit of ground to Jack Hoyle last time out due to the safety car. And yes, IRL, I did find my notes and made more notes over last week. We've got Callum Anderson joining us on the live chat, cheering on Sondre Sorhaug. Sondre's yet to set a time, but again, we just talked about him. Came home 6th last time out. That was his best finish since round 5. So hopefully Sondre will be looking to put some more points on the board today. Felix Negwer is 8th quickest so far, and he just dropped to 9th quickest, and now 10th quickest as he continues to fall through the grid here. Darren Sinclair going 3rd fastest as he heads into the pits. Tyler Rhodes is the McLaren 5th quickest. Samuel Nazar, who finished 5th last time out, he's already gone 6th quickest. And Vs Himalayan, he's back out on his out lap. While we watch Vs Himalayan do his out lap to see what kind of time he can set, we'll go over some Russian history here in IRL. Previous pole sitters has actually only been 1, and that was Kiki Malikish back in Season 2. Sochi was not on the calendar during Season 1, and they didn't put it on the calendar for Season 3 or Season 4. So, relatively speaking, the pole to win ratio here is 100% because the only time they raced here was back in Season 2. Kiki Malikish won the pole, went on to win the race, but podium finishers was John Hooft and Neil Dolan that year. Now, interestingly enough, there was a preseason test held here last year for Season 4 where Louis Quinlan set an unofficial lap record in preseason testing with a 132.595. However, Joe Hollis beat that record yesterday during the F2 race where he set a pole time of 131.295, and you can see already Jay Drawbridge has destroyed that time with a 130.088. As we continue to watch Vs Himalayan. Now, pit strategy here, the one-stop pit strategy would ultimately be the best way to go. You can run probably hypers to ultra softs. Hypers are going to last you somewhere in the realm of 9 to 12 laps, depending on how bad you want to abuse them. And look at this, Jack Hoyle just went 129.969. So the rivalry continues between Jack Hoyle and Jay Drawbridge as we pick up Vs Himalayan. He's getting ready. He's in Sector 2, heading into Sector 3 down the straightaway. Not necessarily a straightaway, but he's in the DRS zone. And then back to the pit strategy. If you run the hypers, they're going to last 9 to 12 around here. Ultras will last you 15 to 18. You can make a one-stop easily. Softs are going to go 25 to 27. You could almost run this whole race on a set of softs. It's only a 27-lap race. But will anybody try to do that is beyond me as we continue to watch Himalayan. He's going to come around the last set of corners here, see what time he is going to set and he immediately jumps to 6th on the grid with a 1:36.06. And Himalayan is blowing the corner, so he's going to head back into the pits. So the only 3 drivers yet to set a time is Cam Valhoon, Sondre Sorhaug, and Gabriel Ryan. It looks like Gabriel Ryan is on his out lap, so we'll stick with him. As I said earlier, he picked up his 2nd podium of the year. Last time out, he picked up 3rd at China. He had 1 other podium earlier this year. That was actually a 2nd place finish back in round 6 in Britain. So he's going to cross the line, start his out lap. Gabriel Ryan does have a couple of IRL wins to his credit from previous seasons and quite a few podium finishes. He's been fairly quick this year. There was a little bit of controversy a couple rounds ago. Round 8 in Austria, where him and Thomas Scott had some issues. Possibly a desync issue, but ultimately they were battling really hard for 5th spot, I believe it was. But Scott got hooked by Ryan's car, so that cost Ryan a penalty. On top of some aggressive driving while heading into turn 2 at Austria, so he seemed to clean himself up a little bit in the last few rounds, picked up that 2nd podium of the year, and it looks like he's on fairly good pace right now as he comes around the dog leg and into that hard right-hander. You're braking while turning left and getting ready to go right, so it's a hard right-hander for you to make at high speed like that. See, the car just slides a little bit coming over that hill. Back end a little twitchy on the Haas F1 machine. Comes across the line, and he is going to go 7th quickest. So we got a lot of drivers in the 130 range. 2nd through 8th is only separated by 9/10 of a second. And then honestly, 1st to 8th is only separated by a second. So 1:29.9, and then 1:39 is your 8th quickest time set by Samuel Nazar. So Jack Hoyle looks like he's on his out lap, judging by cutting that corner. Jay Drawbridge still is heading into the pits now. I'm going to try and change that setup a little bit. I'm sorry, that was not Jay Drawbridge, that was Darren Sinclair that I just picked up. He went 2nd quickest with a 1:30.073. That actually drops Jay Drawbridge to 3rd quickest. So about 5:30 left to play in this qualifying session. Drawbridge looks like he's on his out lap. So we're going to pick up Jack Hoyle. He has just started another fast lap. He's going to try and add to that 1:29.969 and improve that time. The only driver to break the 1:30 mark and drop down into the 1:29s. Darren Sinclair and Jay Drawbridge both very close. And Darren Sinclair, he had a relatively good race going for him last time out at China. He ultimately ended up with a DNF, but he did prove to be a scrappy young driver, and he's new to F1 here for IRL. So he put in a good effort until he got caught out in a little bit of a wreck there, and ultimately came home 15th. So not the debut that he wanted. Continue to watch Jack Hoyle. And now Aaron Collingwood just went 1:29.753 to the top of the charts in the Scuderia Ferrari. So the question becomes, does Jack Hoyle have anything for Collingwood as the back end just almost snapped around on the Red Bull? He's getting ready to come across the line. It's going to be close, folks. 1:29.609. Hoyle to the top of the charts. Fights back. We're going to pick up Jay Drawbridge. He's on a fast lap. He's in Sector 3, and you can hear him whining out that McLaren engine. Drawbridge have anything for the top 3 drivers now? He's fallen 4th quickest on the charts. He's going to come around and he's going to go 1:29.354. Jay Drawbridge to the back of the top. He's 3/10 quicker than his rival Hoyle. Unbelievable lap by Jay Drawbridge. Pick up Jack Hoyle again. See if Jack Hoyle is doing another hot lap or if he's blasting around the circuit to head back in. The caution in sector 1 and 2. Now, if Hoyle is on a hot lap, the Toro Rosso in front of him could get a penalty for impeding his progress. We'll see what happens here, and it looks like Hoyle is going to be off the pace. He's going to head back into the pits. So Hoyle calls it aborts that lap. So you've got Hoyle, Collingwood, Sinclair. Brandon Glover has gone 5th quickest. They're all in the pits, going to do a quick change. See where Jay Drawbridge is. Drawbridge is off the pace a little bit as well, so he might head back in. It's going to be close for some of these guys. 2:20 left to play in the session. If you're going to be making an adjustment, you're going to have to do it quick. You're going to pick up Belay Himalayan. He just started a hot lap. Belay's been fairly quick this year. His season's been a little bit up and down. We hop on board with him. And Belay, he's in the Renault. Oh, and he runs very wide coming out of that corner. That might invalidate his lap time. Looks like he might have brushed the wall there, too. And it looks like he's going to abort this lap. Settle the car down. Pick up Tyler Rhodes. Tyler Rhodes is actually coming up in the back of Himalayan's Renault. Himalayan gets out of the way. Himalayan had finished 4th back at round 5. That was a good start to the year for him. That was the French Grand Prix. He did win at round 7 a couple of rounds later. It looks like Jay Drawbridge is retired from the session as he just went 1:29.354. Well, actually, he set that lap already. He retires from the session. I guess he figured he didn't have enough time to get back around to do another lap. So we're going to pick up Jack Hoyle. Jack Hoyle's on his out lap. So we're going to watch Hoyle, Aaron Collingwood, and Darren Sinclair. Tyler Rhodes calls it a day. Saba Siktu calls it a day. And Collingwood is starting his last-ditch effort now. Jorge Correa has called it a day. 16th quickest for him. Darren Sinclair is just now starting his final lap, as is Jack Hoyle. So we'll stick with Collingwood. Runs a little wide coming out of that corner. Runs wide coming out of that one as well. I'm not sure who that Haas is. That Haas might be Gabriel Ryan. Caution in sector 1. Oh, and Jack Hoyle retires from the session. I'm wondering if he may have gone off. So right now, Hoyle is done for the day, currently 2nd. So the question is going to become, does Aaron Collingwood have anything for the top 2? Collingwood in sector 3. He's got a pretty good time going right now. It's going to be close. Couple of corners to go. Runs a little wide coming out of that one. Last corner in. 1:29.354. He ties Jay Drawbridge. Oh, and he crashes at the end of that, caught the right front wheel of one of the slower cars. But him and Jay Drawbridge run the same exact time. I think Drawbridge is going to get the pole since he set his time first. But they both run the exact same time. Darren Sinclair comes across. Ville Himalayan has gone fourth quickest. Darren Sinclair. So unbelievable last-ditch effort by Aaron Collingwood. Runs the exact same time as Jay Drawbridge. And this should make for a very interesting opening couple of laps. So here's your starting grid. Jay Drawbridge, Aaron Collingwood, Jack Hoyle, Ville Himalayan, Darren Sinclair, Brandon Glover, Gabriel Ryan, Saba Siktu, Tyler Rhodes, Samuel Nazar. Sondre Sorhaug is 11th. Joshua Dangle, who we haven't really talked about, is 12th. Felix Negwer all the way down in 13th position. Adrian Storm is 14th. Alexander Bastos 15th. Jorge Correa is 16th. And Ken Vilhoun did not set a time. And he's going to round out the 17 drivers. So Felix Negwer deep in the field. He may try and run an alternate strategy. It would still probably be a one-stop, and he might try and run the softs to go very long on that first stint. And we get a little bit of an overcast day here at Sochi. You see the clouds have rolled in. Could weather be a factor? Hard to say. So Jay Drawbridge picks up his 5th pole position of the year, and that is actually his 3rd one in a row. So something we could start potentially thinking about is if Drawbridge can break the consecutive pole record, which was set by Matthew Alder last year. I believe that was 5 or 6 consecutive poles that he had. So Drawbridge has got 3, leading the league in pole positions. So we're going to set up for the formation lap and talk about some of these drivers. Jay Drawbridge is looking for redemption this week after crashing out last race. He's done picked up his 3rd straight pole position and his 5th one of the year. We'll see if he can get back to that top step of the podium. Aaron Collingwood is going to be starting 2nd, even though he set the same exact time as Jay Drawbridge. Jay set his 1st, so he gets the pole position. Collingwood is coming off a very controversial win last time out of China. We'll see if he can back it up in a less controversial way. Jack Hoyle, your championship points leader, starting 3rd today, and obviously he's going to be looking to add to his podium count for the day. And Ville Himalayan is going to want to make up for his last time out at round 9 at Monza, where he was leading the race and crashed out when weather showed up. Weather could be a factor today again as well. Darren Sinclair starting 5th. He's going to be looking to finish in the points today to make up for his DNF in his debut last time out. Brandon Glover looking to try and get back to that podium. He's only picked up 2 podiums this year. His last one was at round 9 in Monza. Gabriel Ryan coming off of a podium finish at China. He'll be looking to add to his total as well. Saba Siktu we haven't seen in a few weeks. He's proven to be very fast and very scrappy. Can he work his way towards the front of the field? And Tyler Rhodes in the McLaren. Can he play backup and help his teammate Jay Drawbridge close that championship points gap to Jack Hoyle? And Samuel Nazar making his 2nd race for IRL. Finished 5th last time out. He'll be looking to have another good finish today. Sondre Sorhaug, he's coming off of his best finish last time out at China since round 5. He'll be looking to make some points up. And Joshua Dangle, he'll be starting in 12th. He'll be looking to try and break that top 10. Felix Negwer is 2nd in the points. He's starting 13th today, and he needs very desperately to get back to the podium to try and close that points gap to Jack Hoyle. Adrian Storm starting 14th. He'll be looking to improve upon that. And Alexander Bastos has had 2 DNFs in a row. He'll be looking to just finish the race today. Jorge Correa will be starting towards the back of the field. Watch for him, though, late in the race. As long as he doesn't crash out, He runs some very interesting race strategies, and rounding up the 17 drivers is going to be Ken Vilhoen. So the red lights show up. Lights are out. Any second now. There we go. Time to run what you brung. Drawbridge looks like he gets a pretty good start, and so does Collingwood. And these two are off to the races. Jack Hoyle. Oh, there's a big crash there towards the back. Oh, it's one of the McLarens. One of the McLarens, and let's see, Saba Siktu, Tyler Rhodes, Samuel Nazar, Sondre Sorhaug. Crash out. Look at this. Collingwood's made a move to the inside of Jay Drawbridge at turn 3. Drawbridge comes back. Oh, and Collingwood slams the door on the front end. Oh, there's a little bit of contact in the back. Looks like that was Gabriel Ryan. He's running side by side, and now the two Renaults, Darren Sinclair and Ville Hemelaine, are running side by side with each other. Jay Drawbridge. So this is exactly what we saw last week. Collingwood, Drawbridge, and Hoyle running 1, 2, and 3, fighting for the top spot. Meanwhile, you've got Darren Sinclair trying to battle his teammate, Ville Hemelaine, and here comes the Haas of Gabriel Ryan to spoil that party. He's going to be inside of a Renault sandwich. And look at this, Joshua Dangle has spun out and has fallen back through the field. Jorge Correa in a battle going on here, 4 cars. Brandon Glover trying to make a pass. And Ken Vilhoen has worked his way into 9th on the opening lap. Joshua Dangle has fallen all the way to the back of the field, and it looks like he's got a caution sector 2 and 3. He's got some wing damage. He's going to be well off the pace. We jump back towards the front where Jack Hoyle is trying to chase down Jay Drawbridge, and Jay Drawbridge is trying to chase down Aaron Collingwood for the top spot. 1, 2, 3 as they whiz by. Then you've got a little bit of break, and then you pick up 3 more cars, which is going to be Darren Sinclair, Ville Hemelaine, and Gabriel Ryan. 4th, 5th, and 6th as they go by. Jay Drawbridge battling it out again with his 2 rivals from last week. And 13th through 17th have all pitted due to collisions and wing damage. It looks like things have settled on what was a very manic opening lap. And now Hoyle is a little closer to Jay Drawbridge than Drawbridge is to Collingwood. Now they'll come around on lap 3 and the DRS will be enabled. And it's a little foggy, it's a little overcast. Wondering if weather will be a factor later on in the race. I didn't see the forecast for today's race, so it'll keep you guessing. And Drawbridge now is closer to Collingwood. And Joshua Dangle has already picked up a 3-second time penalty. He is currently running in the 12th position. And 1, 2, and 3, Collingwood, Drawbridge, and Hoyle all went fastest lap, fastest lap, fastest lap. DRS is now enabled. So slots are going to be open. And look at this, the weaving and the bobbing. The bobbing and the weaving. Collingwood runs a little wide going out of the 1-2 complex. Drawbridge now has Hoyle all over the back of him. Drawbridge going to try and make a dive bomb move. Not going to get there, and he picks up a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. And Joshua Dangle has retired. DNF. Has he gone off somewhere? Could be at the 1-2 complex. Actually, it looks like it was right around there is where he lost it. Pick the battle back up. And Joshua Dangle has officially left the session. He'll come home 17th. To the inside goes Drawbridge. Collingwood's got the more preferred line on the next way up. Tries to push him wide. Drawbridge gets the inside run down the right-handers. He's going to take the lead. Can Collingwood come back? He's still side by side with him. Collingwood runs a little wide, brings it back. Drawbridge gets the better run coming out of the corner. And now Drawbridge takes the lead. Hoyle's looking to make a move on Collingwood. Drawbridge to the point, Collingwood. And now look, while these three have been battling it out, Darren Sinclair is starting to close the gap. It's about to be a four-way battle for the top spot. Collingwood now is going to have the DRS advantage, and he get a good run out of 1 and 2. It's a little far behind as we hop on board, see if he tries to make a move. Thought about it. Not good enough. Hoyle still in the midst of this, so while these three are battling, the next three, Sinclair, Vile Himalayan, and Gabriel Ryan, are starting to close in. So if things keep up like this, in another lap or two, we're going to have a six-way battle for the lead. And you saw Jack Hoyle just picked up a 3-second time penalty. And now Hoyle around the outside of Collingwood runs very wide. Tyler Roach just set the fastest lap with a 1:34.076. Now Collingwood runs extremely wide coming out of that corner. And these two are now off the pace. Drawbridge has been able to pull out a little bit. 0.9 of a second. The DRS is still enabled for Collingwood and Hoyle. Closes the gap back up at the DRS range. 3-second time penalty again. This time for Samuel Nazar and Sondre Sorhaug. So a lot of these guys are cutting these corners, either running wide or cutting them short. And Drawbridge is so close to getting that car outside of the DRS range, 0.9 of a second. And now Darren Sinclair has actually closed this gap. So now you've got a three-way car battle for what is essentially the second spot right now. Drawbridge is now pulled out over a second. And look at this, Hoyle on Collingwood makes the move down into turn 1-2 complex. Darren Sinclair is still right there. He's now part of this three-way battle for the second spot. Now can Collingwood stick with Drawbridge? And here comes Sinclair. Sinclair's quietly worked his way into this battle. Drawbridge's time, it was just over a second when he crossed the start-finish line, but Hoyle has closed that gap back up. And now Hoyle has pulled on Collingwood a little bit. So now Collingwood is coming under threat from Darren Sinclair. Caution in Sector 2. And now, oh no, it's Jay Drawbridge! What's happened to Drawbridge? Pick up Adrian Storm's car. Oh, there's Drawbridge on the wall, right front damage. And I'm not sure if he got touched by Hoyle or not. They were very close. It was half a second gap. So Jack Hoyle is going to take the lead. Darren Sinclair has made the move to go around Collingwood. Collingwood's going to dive into the pits. That's going to hand third spot over to Vile Himalayan. And Drawbridge trying so hard to close the points gap for this championship. Second DNF in a row. Unfortunate for him. Unbelievable. So here's your battle for third currently. Very disappointing for Jay Drawbridge. He's a fan favorite. He's been fighting Jack Hoyle to try and close that gap, but Hoyle has just been storming his way through this season. It's still early in the race, though. 6 laps to go. Anything could happen. Darren Sinclair in the Renault is trying to close that gap while we watch Gabriel Ryan battle with Sinclair's teammate, Vile Himalayan. Jay Drawbridge has officially left the session. He will unfortunately come home 16th. No points for him as he's the second car to crash out. Meanwhile, we continue to watch Gabriel Ryan in pursuit of Vile Himalayan. This is your closest battle on track right now. Jack Hoyle just dived into the pit, so that's going to hand the lead over to Darren Sinclair. Now, if these guys are on hypers, it's a little early to be pitting. You should only have to pit lap 9 is when the window should open, but a lot of these guys have been running really hard in the opening laps. So Darren Sinclair picks up the lead. Gabriel Ryan now moves into third and is still working on the back of Vile Himalayan, which is now the battle for second. Oh, and look at this. Look how wide Himalayan ran coming out of that turn into turn 4. And it looks like we've got drops of rain starting to show up. The great equalizer is starting to show its presence. And this is going to be unfortunate for guys like Jack Hoyle, who just pitted for a new set of tires. The rain is coming. He's going to have to very quickly try and work his way through the field, but he is 7.5 seconds behind Adrian Storm for 5th. So if the rain gets bad enough soon enough, they're going to have to make extra pit stops to switch over to possibly intermediates or even full wets if the rain starts to drop fast enough. So now it's a race against the weather, and things have just gotten a little bit more interesting in this battle now. Jack Hoyle has proven to be very quick in the wet. In fact, he won back at round 9 at Monza. And in Monza, he picked up his 3rd win of the year, and that was in wet conditions. In fact, Vile Himalayan was leading the race by a large gap. He went an extra lap in the wet on slicks, and it ended up costing him. And here we go, Gabriel Ryan makes the move, a big lockup, trying to head into the turn 2 and 3 complex. He cut the corner, and now Himalayan is on the outside of turn 3. You see the drop starting to fall a little bit more rapid. Track is definitely going to start getting wet here in the next lap or so. The question is how long do you stay out on the slicks? And obviously the range right now is too light to try and make a pit stop on intermediates. But as I was saying, Himalayan went one extra lap too long at Monza when he was leading the race, and it ultimately cost him as he crashed out, broke the front wing, ruined his day. He was leading that race by a very large gap. So does Himalayan gamble and do that again? Does Darren Sinclair try to push these tires as far as they can? It looks like he's on the hypers. He's 7 laps in. How long do you run them until the grip is gone? And now look at this. Brandon Glover is starting to make his presence known in this battle for... Oh, is that possibly a lap car? That's not Brandon Glover at all. Gabriel Ryan in 2nd, Vile Himalayan in 3rd. Brandon Glover is just coming across the line, so that looks like that is a lap car. That possibly Samuel Nazar in that car. So he is a lap down. And just as we're talking about the wet and the rain coming down, Jack Hoyle just set the fastest lap of the race while running 6th, and he's closing the gap now down to Adrian Storm. Meanwhile, Himalayan is working on Gabriel Ryan to take back that 2nd spot. And Samuel Nazar is a lap car, and he might be on fresher tires, but he should probably back off this battle just a little bit and let these two race it out. Rain still very light, and it is coming down a little bit. You can see it as we hop on board. Starting to get a little bit more pronounced. I don't think the track's damp enough for intermediates yet. Maybe in another 2 laps. Adrian Storm just... Oh, actually maybe 2 laps is too far. Around the outside goes Samuel Nazar. He looks like Himalayan struggled with a little bit of grip there. You see the back end of his car starting to lose. Not sure if that's because of the wet or if that's because of tire wear. That could also be a factor. Darren Sinclair, meanwhile, has now pulled out 4.5 second gap over Gabriel Ryan. Ryan stays out, Sinclair stays out, Himalayan stays out. Nobody else has taken the gamble yet to switch over to intermediates. Meanwhile, we're going to pick up a close battle here for the 11th spot. And this is Tyler Rhodes on Felix Negwer. And Negwer, very disappointing qualifying effort. He started deep in the field and he has not made much ground. He's going to try and go around the outside as he runs a little wide. And it looks like he's on the ultra softs. Sondre Sorhaug is now starting to show up in this battle here. Sondre currently running 13, so this is 11th, 12th, and 13th. Battle for pride right now as Negwer is struggling in the last couple races to make up any ground on Jack Hoyle. And now the rain is definitely more pronounced than it's been thus far. So the question becomes, how far can you go? You see Negwer starting to struggle a little bit with grip. Around the outside of turn 3, Sabasiktu just picked up a time penalty. And here goes Rhodes to the inside. He thought about it. It was close. Sondre Sorhaug just picked up a 3-second time penalty. And time penalties are definitely going to be a factor, and they've been a factor all year in some of the other finishes. Ooh, and Rhodes, he's fighting hard against Negwer. Sondre runs very wide again. I think Sondre wants to be a part of this battle. Rain still falling. And it looks like Gabriel Ryan is going to be the first one of the top 3 to pit. And he's going to try and pit now. Probably switch over to intermediates and try and get an undercut. Is the time right as Felix Negwer and Tyler Rhodes battle side by side and down into this corner? Ooh, that was close. Sondre almost loses the back end of his car. And again, Rhodes fighting off Felix Negwer. Does anybody gamble on intermediates as they head into the pits? No, they do not. And there's a little bit of team strategy going on here right now. It doesn't seem like it, but Tyler Rhodes is the number 2 driver to Jay Drawbridge. And right now, Tyler Rhodes is fighting very hard with Felix Negwer, trying to hold him back. Negwer is second in the points championship. Drawbridge is third. So, might not be a battle for the top spot in the point standings, but Negwer is certainly having a hard time going to be getting any points on the board. Now we pick up Jack Hoyle, who has been on a tear since coming back out on the Ultra Softs. He's moved into 3rd spot, and he's all over the back of Ville Himalayan. Problem is going to be they're eventually going to have to pit, I would think, for intermediates. He makes the move on Himalayan. Do they gamble? He stays out. Himalayan stays out. We're going to pick up Gabriel Ryan. And Ryan is on Ultra Softs. So nobody has pitted yet for intermediates or wets, even though the rain is continuing to fall. So this has worked out pretty well for Jack Hoyle. The rain hasn't been heavy enough, but he is starting to tear into the 7.5 second lead that Darren Sinclair had, and it is now less than 7 seconds. So Sinclair is on some very worn ultra soft tires, and I believe he is trying to push these until it gets bad enough to switch over to the intermediates. You see the rain continuing to fall, but look at this. Jack Hoyle is coming. Hoyle is now down to 5.5 seconds. He's made up 2 seconds on this lap, by the way, on Darren Sinclair. It is now under 5 seconds. Does Sinclair go and head into the pits? He does not. He stays out. Here's Jack Hoyle. And it's now 4 seconds. He can see Sinclair. There goes Darren Sinclair. Here comes Jack Hoyle. Meanwhile, you've got Brandon Glover closing that gap down to Vile Himalayan. You see the rain falling. That is third, fourth, and fifth. That's Himalayan, Brandon Glover, and Aaron Collingwood, who pitted early for the Ultras while he was battling for the lead. And Glover looks like he went wide. Collingwood is going to make up 2 spots, but he runs very wide. So it looks like maybe now the rain is starting to be an issue. We pick up Jack Hoyle. And he is now within 1.3 seconds of Darren Sinclair for the lead of this race. We go back here. These guys are battling side by side. They both ran wide, turns 3 and 4. You can see the water streaming down, streaming off of the bodywork. You see how many corrections that Sinclair's having to make. And look at us, around the outside goes Jack Hoyle. Makes the move. And Hoyle is going to stay out an extra lap. And look at this, Darren Sinclair is going to head into the pits. He's going to have to switch over to intermediates, I imagine. Hoyle stays out. We're going to stick with Darren Sinclair. Let's see what kind of tires he puts on. Does he stay on the slicks or does he try and switch over to the intermediates? And it looks like he's putting on ultras. Still nobody's taking that gamble for slicks. Vile Himalayan dives in the other Renault. 3-second time penalty for Samuel Nazar. And what is going on here? Is this a possible glitch? Maybe we're just not catching the footage. It looks like his car has switched over to intermediates. And, okay. You gotta love the internet sometimes. So Vile Himalayan has switched over to intermediates. He is the only driver out on remotely wet tires. Everybody else, we just saw his teammate switch over to ultras. Meanwhile, Jack Hoyle has pulled out a almost 13-second lead on Aaron Collingwood. Everybody is on slick tires with the exception of Vile Himalayan, who has dropped all the way to 11th, while Felix Negwer has just gone around him. Negwer finally breaks into the points. Looks like he's starting to struggle a bit. So Collingwood hasn't lost any time to Jack Hoyle, but he hasn't gained any time either. Collingwood stays out, Jack Hoyle stays out. You see the rain, it's coming down. The track has to be getting wet. Be interesting to see if the undercut's going to work on the intermediates. Uh-oh, and Samuel Nazar has crashed out. He was running 15th. Wonder if weather was a factor. Brandon Glover has dived into the pits. And I think that was Sondre Sorhaug just came out of the pits. He has switched over to intermediates. So some guys are finally starting to make the changeover. We'll see what Brandon Glover does. Brandon Glover says he is on hypersofts. Not sure if that was by accident or if that is on purpose. And we're going to watch Jorge Correa come in. And again, we're getting a little bit of a pit glitch here, so no sense of watching that. Jack Hoyle's now pulled out 13 plus seconds over Aaron Collingwood. This is an unbelievable run by Jack Hoyle. He's got 8 laps on the Ultra Softs in the wet. I mean, this is almost reminiscent of Schumacher in '94 running with Damon Hill. Damon Hill was on wets on a wet track. Schumacher was on slicks on a wet track and was able to gap Damon Hill. This is an unbelievable run by Jack Hoyle. And Brandon Glover comes out. He's behind the Haas of Saba Siktu. He's on the hypers. a big lockup in the Haas by Saba Siktu. Brandon Glover's going to take that spot. The rain continues to fall. It's unbelievable to me that this has not become more of a factor than it is yet. We've got some really talented drivers driving around here on slick tires in the wet. Checking out some of the info. Felix Negwer has managed to work his way into 9th now. We've got a caution in Sector 2. Not sure who that might be. Vile Himalayan gambled on intermediates, and so far it hasn't paid off. He's currently running 10th, and he's got Alexander Bastos closing in on him. Bastos is currently got the soft tires on. I talked a little bit about Alexander Bastos last time out as we see another caution in Sector 2. I was talking about how consistent Bastos had been all year. He'd only had one DNF up until that point, but unfortunately he crashed in China heading into the pits, completely blew the pit exit, and just basically, I don't know if he had brake problems or if he was just late on the brakes. And Sondre Sorhaug has crashed while riding 14th, and I'm going to imagine that is due to the wet. Sondre does not like the rain whatsoever. In fact, every wet race we've had so far this year, he has crashed out of, I believe. So, but as I was saying about Bastos, I was giving him some praise, and now we've got the virtual safety cars come out as Collingwood has headed into the pits. Collingwood, has he switched over to intermediates? Yes, he has. So this is going to benefit. This is going to benefit Jack Hoyle big time, because Jack Hoyle now has a 25-second gap over Gabriel Ryan for second place. Hoyle is going to easily, I mean, he's going to pit for intermediates, and he's going to come out no problem. He's going to retain the lead, even if Jack Hoyle, I mean, even if we were under race pace, Jack Hoyle would still be able to pit and come out if Gabriel Ryan didn't even pit. The pit stop delta is like 23 seconds here. So even at race pace, Jack Hoyle would still be able to pit and come out. But he's under the virtual safety car, so he's definitely going to be able to pit with tires. A lot of these guys, now the DRS has been enabled, and looks like we've gone back to green, virtual safety car done, as a lot of these guys head into the pits. And Jack Hoyle, back off and running. Got a caution in Sector 1 already. And this is Saba Siktu in the slicks, as he's, that's the 1-2 complex, I believe. That's not the 1-2 complex, but that's Saba Siktu that's going around. And Jack Hoyle finally pits. An unbelievable run on Ultra Softs in the wet. He's going 9-10 laps. He's finally switching over. And Ken Valhoon is now done for the day. He's retired from the session. And finally, with essentially 9-10 laps to go, Jack Hoyle finally switches over to the intermediates, and the weather finally gets bad enough, and Ken Valhoon is going to pick up another DNF, unfortunately for him. Caution in Sector 1 and 2. It looked like it just went by Ken Valhoon's car there. Adrian Storm pits. Darren Sinclair still out on ultras, and Adrian Storm is out on softs. So a couple of guys taking a gamble here. Not sure that's going to pay off. I'm going to watch Darren Sinclair here. And he's got Jack Hoyle in front of him there. That's Hoyle on the intermediates. Darren Sinclair on ultras. This is going to be inconsequential, though, because Sinclair's going to have to make another pit stop. So this is still going to hand, even though it's going to be a battle for the lead, it's still going to fall into the hands of Jack Hoyle. He's in the catbird seat. And if Hoyle keeps the car on track, he's going to easily walk away with another win. So is there anything in the world that can stop Jack Hoyle from walking away with this championship? You see he's on the intermediates. Darren Sinclair still able to keep better race pace thus far. But again, not going to matter because he's going to have to pit again, I'm sure, for at least, even if he tries to run slicks the rest of the way, he's still going to have to pit again. And that looks like a yellow flashing light. Sinclair is under a second. He's within the DRS range. I did see the DRS was enabled at the end of the virtual safety car. And now it looks like Hoyle, the tires have come in a little bit, possibly the weather getting a little worse. He's been able to gap Sinclair, get back outside of that DRS 1 second gap. You see Sinclair slides the back end very badly coming out of that corner. And this is the Sauber, it looks like, it is Jorge Correa. Correa's on the intermediates running 12th, and he's got Jack Hoyle bearing down on him to lap him. And Felix Negwer is going to move into the 8th spot. Looks like he's finally on intermediates. Yes. So he'll at least be able to put some points on the board. And Sinclair, looks like he's starting to struggle with grip, and it looks like the DRS is now disabled. So the weather is finally getting bad enough to turn the DRS off. Does Sinclair pit? And Sinclair is going to gamble and stay out. It looks like now would have been an optimum time for Sinclair to pit, because it would have been close. He could have pitted and probably come back out and battle for second place with Aaron Collingwood. Instead, he's going to lose a little bit of time now to Jack Hoyle and Aaron Collingwood. Hoyle's going to be able to pull away, and Collingwood is going to be able to close the gap. Interestingly enough, this is still your closest battle on track, but you see Hoyle has started to gap him. The weather's gotten bad. The tires have come into. Sinclair, a lap ago at this point, had this gap down to 9/10 of a second. It is now pulled back out to almost a second plus at 1.6. So Hoyle able to start gapping with 7 laps to go. It has been a very interesting Sochi Russia Grand Prix. And it looks like Brandon Glover, who pitted a little while ago for Hypersofts, is going to have to pit again. So he'll come back out on the intermediates, and he's going to fall to 7th spot. So he'll try and close that gap to Tyler Rhodes. The other question becomes Sinclair. I mean, he could easily pit now and run intermediates all the way to the end of the race. Hoyle's been on the intermediates a little bit longer. It's hard to determine how long intermediates last, and a lot of that's based on how wet the track gets, how much you heat them up. Sinclair still staying out on the ultra softs. And let me just make sure I'm not seeing a glitch here. Yes, he is officially on the ultra softs. And now this is interesting as I'm looking at the tire detail. Okay, Tyler Rhodes is still out on ultra softs. Actually, he's on hypers. Now, Ville Himalayan had to make an extra stop. Ville Himalayan switched over to the intermediates, and he switched over too early. So it looks like he's come back in, switched over back to the ultra softs, and he's probably going to have to pit again to switch back to the intermediates. So that's going to cost him. Meanwhile, and Jorge Correa has just retired from the session. He was running in 12th. So we've lost another car, and that's due possibly to the weather. And look at this, Darren Sinclair. We pick him up, and the rain is definitely coming down now. He's going to have to pit this time in. You can visually tell he is off the pace. Brandon Glover picks up a 3-second time penalty. We're going to pick up Gabriel Ryan, though. Gabriel Ryan has closed the gap down to Aaron Collingwood for the last step on the podium. Well, that would be great for Gabriel Ryan. That would be back-to-back podiums for him. We got a caution in Sector 1. I want to pick up Darren Sinclair real quick. I want to see if he's actually going to pit. And Brandon Glover, Tyler Rhodes do battle it out. Glover does manage to take that spot. And Darren Sinclair finally is going to pit. So now the battle for third is now going to become the battle for second place, which is still a really good outing for Gabriel Ryan. You see Collingwood runs all the way down against the wall trying to take away that draft and break it up a little bit. So even though the DRS isn't enabled, you can still catch that slipstream off the car in front. Collingwood runs a little wide there. Now, Jack Hoyle's got a 23-second gap over this battle for the second spot. So Hoyle, if he needed a new fresh set of intermediates or even needed to switch over to the full wet, he's got enough gap that he could probably pit in and come back out, no issues, or he'd be right on top of this battle. So, but no sense in doing that right now. We saw what Hoyle can do with ultra softs in the wet. I can imagine he's going to run the intermediates to the end of the race, no problem. And Darren Sinclair, he comes out of the pits in fourth as we continue to watch this battle unfold. And Collingwood running a very interesting line all the way down to the wall, trying to break up that slipstream a little bit. Gabriel Ryan is hanging tough and keeping pace with him. Both cars are on the intermediates. Now Ryan, if he can get a good run out of this last corner, that slipstream might actually be a little bit of an advantage for him heading into the 1-2 complex. You see they go around this dog leg here. Getting up the speed. Looks like Ryan's going to be... He's going to try it. He's going to dive in. Pushes him wide. There's a little bit of contact between the two. Left front to right rear. Ryan's hanging tough on the outside. And he's not going to try it there heading into turn 4. Oh, but he just picked up a 3-second time penalty for cutting that corner a little too close. Vile Himalayan has also picked up another time penalty. And again, if Ryan can hang tough, stick with him, he might be able to get a good run coming down the dogleg backstretch. Doesn't look like he's close enough here. Uh-oh, and Technic Gaming has retired from the session. And it looks like that was just right there. Sabasikti just took that position back. So we've started with 17. We've got 10 left as we pick up the battle for second here again. Gabriel Ryan still trying to find a way around Aaron Collingwood. Oh, and he gets a good run coming out of that corner. Collingwood looks like he's struggling to find grip. The back end of the Ferrari sliding around now. That's going to be the type of run that... Oh, no, but one of the Renaults is going to be... He's going to spoil the party! And that was not Darren Sinclair. That was the AI car of Vile Himalayan. And he looked like that car was coming out of the pits or was moving very slow because of crash damage. that almost spoiled the party for both of these drivers. And that's a shame because Ryan had a really good run coming out of the last corner onto the front stretch. He could have made a move going down into turn 1-2 complex, but that Renault was in the way. And the laps are winding down. 3 laps left for Gabriel Ryan to make a move to try and pick up that second spot. And now you see Collingwood has gapped Gabriel Ryan a little bit. Gabriel Ryan's going to have to try and, I guess, reset and get his bearings back, try and make up that gap again. And look at this, Collingwood has now moved out to almost over a second over Gabriel Ryan. Not sure if Ryan maybe burned up the tires a little bit, trying to close the gap and make the move on him early. Maybe he's backing off a little bit to let the tires cool down. Maybe get his bearings reset. Whatever the case may be, even if Gabriel Ryan comes home third, that's going to be back-to-back podiums for him. That's going to be a great mid-season run for him here in IRL. And he's starting to creep back in. He was over a second. He's now trying to break that second barrier. Now down to 0.8 of a second. Ryan lost a little bit of time there in that section going down the backstretch. Tyler Rhodes picks up a 3-second time penalty. Couple laps left, working lap 26 of 27. So Gabriel Ryan's only got a couple more laps to try and close that gap, make a move. Jack Hoyle's easily walked away with this. Unbelievable run by Jack Hoyle today. Is there anything that can stop him? So the laps wind down, and with Jack Hoyle walking away with another win, which is ultimately going to be his 9th overall podium of the year. So that's 9 podiums in 12 rounds. It's going to be his 5th win of the year. I think the primary focus for guys like Felix Negwer, who's currently running in 7th spot, and guys like Jay Drawbridge, I think those two guys are going to have to change their focus for the remainder of the year, because Jack Cole is walking away with the championship. I think those two guys right now need to focus on themselves and battling each other, because even though they're not mathematically out of contention, as you see Felix Negwer run very wide, even though they're not mathematically out of contention for the championship, those two, with Drawbridge as quick as he is, and Negwer struggling here as of late, those two, their points gaps have shrunken closer together, so meaning Negwer and Drawbridge are closer together in the point standings than they are trying to catch Jack Hoyle. So I think Drawbridge and Negwer need to set their focus on, in Negwar's case, retaining the 2nd spot in the championship point standings, and in Drawbridge's case, closing that points gap to second. And I think if those two guys actually kind of did that and focused on the second spot and on themselves, I think in turn they would probably close that gap a little bit to Jack Hoyle. Really, the only thing that's going to stop Hoyle right now is some misfortune or possibly missing a race or two. As we see him come around again, picks up another win. It's going to be his 5th win of the year as he heads down the dogleg backstretch. See another time penalty for Sabasiktu. It'll be interesting to see how time penalties are going to play out for some of these guys. Aaron Collingwood has officially gapped Gabriel Ryan for that second spot by a second and a half. So Jack Hoyle, sector 3, a couple more corners, and he is going to pick up Jack Hoyle is going to pick up his 5th win of the year. He comes across the line. Jack Hoyle, 5th win of the year in 12 rounds. Aaron Collingwood is 23 seconds behind. And he's got soft tires on the car, but I'm pretty sure that's just the glitch because he's on intermediates. So ignore the yellow band tires. Aaron Collingwood coming across the line to pick up his 5th podium finish of the year. Gabriel Ryan picks up his 2nd podium finish in a row, his 3rd overall. Darian Sinclair, really impressive run today. Tried chasing down Jack Hoyle on the ultra softs in the wet. Unfortunately, he got to him, but he had to switch over to the intermediate. So a really good run today for Darren Sinclair as he comes home 4th. He battled up at the front. He looks like he might be a force to be reckoned with as the season progresses. Brandon Glover has got Adrian Storm all over the back of him, but Storm doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to make a move. So this is going to be 5th and 6th as they come across the line. Good outing today for these two drivers. Felix Negwer going to be coming home 7th, which is the best he could ask for. And it looks like he's going to pick up 6th spot from Adrian Storm because of time penalty. So good for him getting an extra spot. Tyler Rhodes actually fought with Negwer earlier in the race to try and help kind of suppress that points battle for 2nd in the championship, as we talked about. Tyler Rhodes is going to come across 8th. And Alexander Bastos, back to finishing a race, picks up 9th. Sabasiktu is 10th. So really interesting race today. Weather a factor. Again, we saw Jay Drawbridge battling for the lead, crashed out. Not sure if there was contact. I think it maybe had just been a mistake on Drawbridge's part. And you see Jack Hoyle again atop the podium, a very common sight. Adrian Storm expresses he's happy with his finish for today. Definitely some tough conditions. Aaron Collingwood there in 2nd. You see Gabriel Ryan, again, that's his 3rd podium of the year, 2nd in a row. So Gabriel Ryan coming on strong here in the last couple rounds, work his way through the point standings. Here's your official finishing order after all the time penalties have been assessed. Jack Hoyle, again, walking away with another win, followed by Aaron Collingwood, Gabriel Ryan, Darren Sinclair, Brandon Glover. Felix Negwer comes home 6th, Adrian Storm 7th, Tyler Rhodes 8th. Alexander Bastos, good to see him finish a race for the first time in a couple of rounds, 9th. Sabasiktu rounds out your top 10 points paying finishes. 11th through 17th was all DNFs. That's Vile Himalayan, Jorge Correa, Ken Balhoun, Sondre Sorhaug, Samuel Nazar, and unfortunately Jay Drawbridge and Joshua Dangle was the first one out of the race. Definitely exciting round. It's a couple of rounds so far this year where weather has played a factor in everything that's been going on. IRL Sochi actually turned out to be a fairly interesting race. Now, you can catch us again next week at IRL. Doubleheader. Saturday we're going to be running F2. Sunday we'll be running the F1 League. Definitely be sure to check them out on the IRL YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. You can also check us out online at the International Racing League -IRL.com for all the news, notes, and point standings. Next week we're going to be running at Singapore, which should be a fairly interesting race. Longest race of the year, hottest race of the year. Tire temperatures will definitely be a factor. It's a night race. Could rain be a factor? It's Singapore. It's hard to tell, but that should definitely be an interesting race. So make sure you guys tune in for that. 11:30 on Saturday for the F2 Eastern Standard Time, and then 11:15 on Sunday for Eastern Standard Time. I'm KAMIKAZE-FOX. This has been another amazing round of IRL racing, and we'll catch you at the next race.